Hey there, Jester here. Rather a busy afternoon. I need to get the dishwasher loaded and started. I need to clean the bathroom sink, fix the bathroom fan, dye this, and maybe run a couple errands if I still have time. Problem is, trying to get these things in the right order. I can't start with the dishes because the dishwasher is noisy and this place isn't soundproofed. And I don't know if the dishwasher would be picked up in the dungeon. So I'm going to start with this task. Let me show you what I made. This had been the leg of a pair of jeans that I was quite fond of. But either they wore out or I got a bit too pudgy and I could no longer wear them. So I thought I'd turn it into a bag. And I'm not showing you how I did it because I just kind of made it up as I went. And it turned out a little janky because of it. Like you can see, on the back that's not straight, and on the inside flap I just stitched that in. But I can show you a few cool things about it, like, well, got little bees on it, another one down there, and then there's a hidden bee. And on the inside I have this honeycomb fabric, so it's a hidden beehive. Now, maybe if I figure out proper pattern for it I'll show you, but this was just made up, kind of janky. But now it needs a strap, and I suppose I could take the other leg of my jeans and sew one, but that would take forever and I would get bored. So what I did instead was buy some of this, I think it's called webbing. It's a canvas strappy stuff, but they didn't have it in olive green, so now I need to dye it olive green. So we're going to give that a try. I've got my dye bucket. I want this aside. And I've got my hot water. So I'm going to fill this up enough to cover my strap. And I don't have any olive green dye, so I'm going to have to mix it. I've got blue, and I've got yellow, and I have a bit of red. And I don't want it to be too dark. I'm just going to put a little bit of blue. A little stir stick. I'm going to mix that up. And then I'm going to add some yellow. Let's see if I've got a green. I've got some paper towel just cut up so I can test. And that's barely dyed at all. I'm going to have to add more dye. I don't really know what I'm doing quite yet. I have to make this up as I go. It's looking a little more green now. So let's try a little more. It's giving me definite blue. So let's dump in more yellow. Problem is the blue is very strong and the yellow is a weaker color. Fortunately, I have more, well, of all the colors. I just have these ones out because I wasn't sure how much I would need. All right. Another little bit of... There we go. That's more of a green. But it's a bright green, and that's why I have my red to add a little mud. Because black will just make it darker. You want the complementary color to make it a little muddier. I'm going to put it on just a little red. Because red is, again, a very powerful color. Very overwhelming color. Mix this up. The dye's all melted in together. Yeah, that's... You can see the two together. That is a little muddier than that. But I think I want a little more mud. Maybe a little more yellow. A little more. A little shake of red. Like adding seasonings. You add it to taste. And a little more yellow. Give that a mix. Get out another test strip. That is... I think it needs more mud. I want to just kind of sneak up on it. I don't want to dump a whole lot in and screw it up. There we go. I think that's pretty close to what I want, I think. So, and if it's too light, well, I can try it again. Now I'm going to... Yes, I've got 3 meters of this stuff. This should be enough to make a shoulder strap. All right, let's get you all submerged and poke you in. And hopefully... Oh shoot, I forgot to... You're supposed to soak your fabric first before you start trying to dye it, but, well, too late for that. It's slightly turning. So hopefully if I squish this around enough, it'll get the proper coverage and soak up all of that dye. Problem is that I need to do this for the next, half hour. Which kind of brings me back to the whole, all these tasks I have to do this afternoon. Because, while the dishwasher's running, that's when I can, work in the bathroom and maybe run errands, depending on how long the bathroom takes. But for this, I have to sit here and babysit it, which isn't going to make for a particularly fascinating watching. But I did bring a few little things that I can show you, speaking of doing things a little wrong. Now this got a flashlight so you can see inside it. There we go. What I was trying to do was I was going to make a magical cave inside here. So what I did was I had this glass, object, vase. I'm not really sure what this would be called. I think it's for making like a little vivarium. But what I did was, first I painted the inside black because I knew I was going to put some clay in there to make my little cave. And then stick some rocks in there. But, I don't know if you can see it, but as the clay dried, it stuck to the paint and it pulled inward. So the clay shrank as it dried. So it doesn't, so it stuck to the paint, and now the paint has been pulled in, and now there's this air gap. But, I mean, that's not, a big problem. But what I wanted to do was then grow crystals inside it. So I took some of the doctor's crystal, little dollar store crystal kits, and I mixed that up, and I put it in there, and it absolutely did not work. I mean, I can show you some pictures. So now here's the process. Here's the little vivarium, and here it is painted. And then I stuck, the clay and rocks in to make my little cave. And then I, poured in my, crystal liquid and scattered some crystals around, and it just kind of ended up weird and bubbly. And I figured out pretty quickly that probably what's happening is that the clay is absorbing all the liquid, so the liquid's not going to grow the crystals. And it's just like, well, maybe, what if I add more liquid? And then I got this weird foamy thing going on, plus it kind of overflowed into the air gap, and now I've got this pattern on the bottom. So that didn't quite work out. I'm going to see if I can, carefully remove the clay and stuff in there and use the little glass vivarium for something else. But who knows if that will be successful. I can probably, it's air dry clay, so it absorbs water and will rehydrate. So if I fill that up with water, I might be able to, scoop that out safely without damaging the glass. How's this looking? I mean, it is kind of patchy, probably because I didn't, give it a pre-soak. It's very silly of me, but I've got all sorts of tasks on my mind this afternoon. So then, yes, the doctor has been playing more with the crystal kits. So this is one where they were putting the leftover crystals from what other things they were doing. And the first one was this kind of orange one, and then afterwards they put this blue in, and the blue got absorbed into the orange. So you got this very muddy looking crystals. And they grew up the side of the plastic, even though there hadn't been any seed crystals there. And this was an attempt at making crystals on a pom-pom, thinking that, well, maybe if the liquid gets absorbed up into the pom-pom, it'll feed the crystals, but it's just kind of turned out lumpy. what it really wanted, or what they really wanted, was to make some in a tube so that they could have a nice prop, tube full of crystals, but that really hasn't seemed to be working. And I'm wondering if it's an airflow issue, because after the doctor posted their show on making the crystals in the first place, the gardener had sent us a recipe for how to make salt crystals that she had found in a recipe book that her grandmother had had. That's made out of water, salt, and bluing. And for those of you who aren't old, bluing is something that you would put in your laundry to make your whites look whiter, because it's usually when, over time, white laundry will take on a bit of a yellowish tinge. So if you add a little bit of blue, it cancels it out. So that's what bluing is. But that is, and part of that recipe was instructed that you put it in a bowl and somewhere with, decent airflow. So it might be that putting the crystals in a test tube doesn't have enough airflow, and it restricts the growth in some manner. It's definitely looking green. That's not terrible. I think it's a little too saturated, but maybe once it dries, it'll be less saturated, like the color, not the liquid itself. Should be a little less bright. I have to keep agitating this for a while longer, and then I have other things to do. So, see you next time.